Live streaming is only made possible by the gear that we have. And what gear should we buy? There's hundreds of options out there. Who knows what to buy that matches your budget that's going to be good for now and for the future. In today's video, we're going to talk about the gear that we use in our own studios, in our own churches, that we know is tried and true and will work for you in whatever streaming setup you have. My name is Justin, and I am 1/3 of the Church Media Guys and 1/2 of Stream Your Church, but with the Church Media Guys powered by YouTube. With me is the guy who knows more about gear than the people that made the gear, Dave Curley. Dave, how are you doing today, buddy? Wait for it.
Can I talk now?
You can talk now. The banner is gone.
Okay, good. Is my audio up?
Your audio is up, is on. We are good to go.
Just checking. Hey, everybody. We're glad y'all are here. Yes, I am the guy that started the Church Media Guys, the Church Training Academy, churchtrainingacademy.com if you want to go check it out. We would love to have you. And I am doing good. It's been a relatively good morning. I got up early this morning, like at 7, and went out and mowed because I'm having company this weekend, and I don't want the company coming over to think that my house is all shabby and stuff. I want the company to drive up in his little sports car and look at the lawn and go, wow, that's a nice looking lawn.
I don't know what that's like. I've rented all my houses, and I do the minimum required to not get yelled at by the landlord. But I'm sure when we own a house someday, I'll actually go out there and be encouraged to make a lawn that looks good. Hey, welcome everyone in the chat that's watching. They want to talk about gear, and boy, has everyone been so patient with us, because I'm running the stream. And I am not the techno guru that you are, Dave. And so we had banner issues, we had audio issues, and let's pray on our knees and beg that we'll be back next week, because I am not the prime example of what it looks like to stream, but I am the example of what it looks like to start and get things done. So welcome.
That's what we're doing and why we're going through this. I've purposefully asked Justin to lead the show or to engineer the show for the first few weeks. I'm always doing it. I've got all the equipment, all this sort of stuff, but we're using this as an object lesson for you guys that are new to using Ecamm and new to juggling the cats that you have to juggle and stuff. And so you're going along on Justin's journey a little bit as we go through this, and the whole thing is a journey, and that's basically why we're doing it. The software is really easy to use, and if you just get your timing right and little things like that, that's where you really have to learn how to finesse, is your timing and your coordination and things like that, not necessarily the button pushing that goes into doing a live production. It's just, oh, now I need to push the button, that kind of thing. So hopefully you're enjoying watching Justin as he Forrest Gumps his way through.
Yes, I hope you're all enjoying watching my demise here.
Katie's back there just shaking her head. Oh,
Katie. What did she get herself into? She has no idea. She thought that we knew. Here we have basically Michelangelo and Michelangelo's barista, and I'm having to paint. The barista is having to paint the Sistine Chapel. Did he do the Sistine Chapel? I don't even know. I fell asleep during art history in 4th grade.
Mixing the paint.
Yeah, so they hired Michelangelo, and instead the guy who mixes coffee is, painting the chapel. So let's get into gear. Let's get into gear. We're talking about live stream gear, and there's a lot of things that you can go with and invest in, and but a key value that we have here at Church Media Guys is that, we want to, and we understand that you want to be a good steward of your money, a good steward of your finances. You're a church. People are sacrificing their own resources, money, time, etc., in your church. Okay. And that is not something to take lightly. So we want you to understand that, you can be a good steward when it comes to buying your live stream equipment, but being a good steward does not mean let's be cheap. Let's buy the cheapest thing possible. Being a good steward means investing your money and resources in the stuff that's going to provide you the most value. Value is also your time. Value is also the manpower. Because remember, anytime you take away to do anytime you use to do live streaming, setting up the gear, troubleshooting, sneaker netting files across the campus, that is time away from ministry. So we want to make sure that we get you equipment that does the job, but does it well and provides you the most value for your dollar. So we're going to go kind of quick. We've got links for everything coming in the chats, but we're going to talk about video, we're going to talk about audio, and we're going to talk about lighting today. It is by no means the end all be all, but this equipment is our most highly recommended equipment because we use it ourselves. We tested it. We use it in our church. We recommend it to our insiders stuff. Dave, are you ready to talk about gear? Is there
Yes.
anything you need to preface before we get into the nitty gritty technology stuff?
No, not necessarily. Most of the gear I have played with, and or I have people that are using it. So that I don't. Unfortunately, I don't have completely unlimited funds. So I don't have everything sitting here and running at my church and all that sort of stuff. But because we have members of Church Training Academy, and because they're using things and all that, then we take some of their recommendations as well. So, for example, when there's one of the PTZ cameras I'm going to talk about. One of them I've installed and used, and I love it. The other one has been installed, and it looks like it's going to be working just great. So we're going to talk about it.
100%. All right, so let's go to video.
Yes.
Last week we talked about the 4 modes of streaming. You've got indie mode, or excuse me, you've got selfie mode, which, just, hey, what's going on, guys? You've got indie mode where you're adding and adapting stuff. You're modularly adding to your equipment that you already have, probably your phone. Then you have desktop mode, which is kind of like your office or maybe your church service or a conference event, small group. And then you've got broadcast mode, which is when you're actually buying like heavy duty live streaming equipment, switchers and such. So we're going to kind of touch on all those as well. So for cameras, we talked about selfie mode. That's my favorite because there is no software cameras, capture cards. You just hold up your phone and you go. And I would consider this. People say, what's a professional way to stream stuff? And I say, I know people that make 6 figures streaming just from their phone. So if you want to talk about professional, this is an easy way to start. But I think what we're really getting to when they ask that question is good stuff. So if you're streaming from your office meeting, maybe your prayer meeting, you've got your laptop, you can use your FaceTime camera. But as I am so frustrated with, that's capped out at 720. Dave, what's a good webcam we can use for our desktop live streams?
Well, so doing it from your desktop, I mean, like you said,
Or laptop.
Or desktop, laptop, whatever. If you do have one that's built in, I mean, start there. Don't go, well, I'm gonna have to wait until I go out and spend $120 on a camera. Don't do that. Go ahead and just start with the one you have, and that would be the one that's built into your laptop or that's at the top of your screen if you're using an iMac or something like that. Could be built in or whatever. The key point to that is just to make sure that you treat it like it's a regular camera. So if you're using your, let's say you've got a MacBook Pro and you've got the one that's built in. First thing you need to do is just get that one up on like some books or on a stand or something like that, so that camera, is not like down here. The camera is up here at eye level, so that it's looking straight at you and not looking up your nose and at the dust on your ceiling fan and the dirty air vent that you haven't vacuumed in 6 months. Just right there is the best place to start. Now, beyond that, then you need to get a better webcam if you're going to not be investing a ton of money. And I always say get like a Logitech C920 or the C930. I've got a C930E right here. Barely see, the cord is stretched. It's got a really wide angle of view, which is pretty cool. These are great cameras. They do 1080. They do 30p. So you're going to get good, really good quality, smooth video. And if you're it's okay. So like Logitech didn't originally have webcam driver software. Just it shows up and boom, you can use it. I believe now that they actually have a utility that you can install where you can actually control the camera. But if they don't, or if you can't get it to work or something like that, Justin and I use a utility called Webcam Tools, and it's like $9, I think, in the App Store. And basically, whatever your camera has available to it, whatever functionality, that functionality is turned on. So if you can adjust the exposure with your webcam, then you can actually adjust the slider and set your exposure, set your saturation, your contrast, brightness. You can go and set the focus to be fixed focus versus autofocus. You can do stuff like that. So you can basically dial in a much better image than just the standard blah, it's on image. So that 920 or 930 are really good.
And you can use, if you have to, like I know at my daughter's dance studio, they Zoom their classes because parents aren't allowed in. You can use that webcam for a small room like that. That's what they use. It's not the best. So when you want to broadcast your small groups, you can use your webcam, or you can buy another camera that you then plug into the computer or whatever system to broadcast your small groups, life groups, growth groups, whatever meetings there are. Basically, when you're in a small room, in that conference room style setting where you've got 5 to 10 to 15 people, what might we upgrade to get a camera for that room for that purpose?
I would go with either a video camera, an inexpensive video camera, or you could, if you wanted to use this camera for a lot more than just live streaming, then you could get something like a Sony A6400 or Canon M50 or any of these inexpensive, high-quality mirrorless cameras. Mirrorless being they're smaller form factor. That's what a DSLR is. They've been around for a long time. They're the like the Canon 5D or the Sony A7. You've got Nikon has a whole range of them. You've got these cameras that are like regular cameras with interchangeable lenses, and they have a mirror inside. So when you take the lens off, you can actually see the mirror, is sitting in there, just like the old film cameras, right? So now they've got mirrorless cameras, which basically don't have the mirror inside. You're actually writing the image directly onto the chip. So they're smaller. They have really great quality, and they have interchangeable lenses, so you can put whatever lens you need according to the situation that you're in. So doing something like in a small group, or upping your level at your desk, if you're doing this in your office or your study, you can, with like one of these mirrorless cameras, you can get a wide angle lens if it's going to be up close. You can, if you've got some distance, then you can get say a 25 millimeter lens or a 50 millimeter lens. You can get lenses that have different aperture settings. Like the one that comes with it may have it may only go down to like the 3.5 f-stop, but then you can buy one that goes down to like 1.7, which basically means that what is in focus, which would be say you, is like really sharp and in focus, but stuff behind you would be blurred out nicely, and it's just a more filmic, cinematic, higher quality look. And the A6400 is actually a really good camera. It's when you say pricey, that is it's in the $1,200 range, $1,200 range, something like that, depending on the kit that you get. But I just actually bought one for a friend of mine that live streams from her studio. She's a musician, and so she's doing her live streams using it at her workstation. But then she also moves it around and live streams at various little sets. Her drum set, her interview set, things like that. And it's great. I mean, she's using the Sigma 16 millimeter lens. It's about a $300 lens, but it's fantastic quality. And that's what I mean. If you want to do a little bit more than just live stream, then a camera like that A6400, or the Canon M50, are really good cameras to do it with, because you could go out and shoot B-roll and do all kinds of stuff. You can vlog with it. You can, if you're at your church, you can go do event coverage. If you're having this, summer splash, where everybody's out there on the giant slip and slide and stuff, you can use that camera to catch all that. Then you can bring it in, plug it in, and live stream it. And you can even live stream your services in like the formal setting, like church, like where you're shooting from the back of the room and stuff. You just got to get a different kind of lens to put on it, so that you can actually, you need a telephoto lens. You need to be able to get up there close. But, a 200 millimeter lens for a camera like that can yield some really good results. So it's a really flexible camera. Short of that, if you just want a video camera and don't have to fuss a whole lot, something like, something like the Canon Vixia. This is a very small camera. It's a Canon Vixia HFR 800. It is a really good quality camera. for a really low price, 250 bucks ish, about that, 300. Or you could get the Sony. Which one is this one? The Handycam, the HDR CX405. I bought this one for about 170 bucks. These are entry level video cameras that are a great value, and you can live stream with them. Again, you can run and shoot with them. You can put them in the back of the room if you need to at church and zoom up and still get a good quality image. And they've got image stabilization built in, which helps as well, because move the camera, it gets a little jerky. But they're a great place to start, and they're all really good cameras. In fact, this Vixia, I use two of these, not the 800, but the older brothers, like a M50, I think, and a 500. I think I use two of those to do a TV show, and no one knows that I'm using these inexpensive cameras, and it looks great. So they're good.
So I want to address a few things that seem to be coming up in the comments here. Number one, a lot of webcams are hard to find. Okay, in the typical manufacturing line, if you go to Amazon, BH Photo Video, even your local Best Buy, if you can get in, or if you shop online, a lot of those are going to be hard to find. However, always be sure, especially right now, be sure you also add eBay, other secondhand retail stores, because a lot of a lot of people are going to be selling stuff, unfortunately, because they need to raise funds for other things that they have to pay for. So they're selling off some of their equipment they never use. B, a lot of people started YouTubing and stuff and bought up all this equipment, and now they're realizing it's harder, or maybe it's not for them. So now they're reselling their cameras and gear that they bought a few months ago when this pandemic started. So you can find some stuff there. Every day I log on to eBay and I'm checking what people are selling, and I am finding these cameras, these capture cards, these equipment. You just have to keep checking back. I mean, literally, I will look for an Elgato capture card and it's not there. I will check 5 minutes later, it's there. Check 5 minutes later, it's already gone. So you just have to keep checking and add those secondhand retailers to your stuff, because A, you're going to sell money. B, it's probably going to be lightly used, and C, you're going to find it and not have to wait as long as if you just order from Amazon and wait for the back order to come in.
I will tell you that by and large, the manufacturers have caught up over the last few weeks with, I mean, things were flying off their shelves. For example, we love the Elgato Cam Link for a capture device. We love that thing, but it was going for like $300-400 and stuff. But now it's in stock. It's back down to the $120-130 range. The C920 is $120 now on Amazon. So they have caught up. I'm sure they're still selling them pretty quick and all that, but it's not like it was 2 months ago where you'd pay $400 for a Logitech C920, and that's the one that you bought from a local office supply store, where you also rent furniture from. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And then also Philip said, and I'm reading into the context. So he said, so that's $2,400 plus a dongle to connect the camera to the computer. I think that's the Sony A6400. Here's the deal, and we'll talk about this more in a separate episode. It's a little bit outside of the scope of what we're talking about today. But just really quick, as we go through this equipment and you start adding up numbers in your head, you could easily get to $1,000, easily get to $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, and you're like, man, this is just a lot of money. We don't have this kind of money. Guys, churches have been closed. A small church is going to spend $1,000 minimum in utilities. We are not spending that right now. Because people are not in the office every day or even every week. So we are saving money in that way. And yes, there may be some budgetary stuff that you have to move around, and you may have to talk to some financial committees, but there's money not being spent that would normally be spent that can go into this live streaming ministry, especially as important as we recognize it right now. So don't look at a number and say, oh boy, where's this money going to come from? The money's there. Okay. Like I like to say, and Dave even says it now too. If the AC broke tomorrow here in the summer in the South, you bet your bottom dollar that your church would find $15,000 to fix it by next week. Yeah. Okay. The money's there. We just don't know if we need it enough. Okay. So don't let the price be an objection for you to just skip all of this and stick with selfie mode. You need to move forward in that. Okay. So
everything that we're doing, guys, we have to think of who our audience is. It's people that are watching on their phones. For doing this live stream stuff. So to get started with what you have, but your goal needs to be to increase the quality and increase the experience for the people. Because what is that person doing? They're watching TV. They're watching a TV show. Your live stream, whatever it is a TV show. This is a TV show that we're doing right here, right now. We're doing a television show type of thing. It happens to be two talking heads. We happen to be doing it at our respective home studios. Doesn't matter. You're used to watching things on Netflix. You're used to watching things on Amazon Prime and all that sort of stuff. So we want to try to reach that quality. You guys would not be paying attention to us if we were herky jerky and blurry, and hopefully we're not.
Yeah, 100%. All right, so let's move into live streaming the actual service. So we talked about, you can use the A6400, which again is a great multi-purpose camera. You can take it with you to camp. You can take it with you to events. You can take it with you to, you can bring it on a Saturday morning to the men's lunch and take really good pictures and really good video with it. It doesn't just have to park in one room and sit there,
Right.
becoming a liability. It can continue to be an asset. And that again comes from being a good steward. You're getting more value out of these tools, and the same goes for these sanctuary cameras we're about to talk about. First, what's your favorite video camera, and then not favorite, but what's a recommended video camera to to sit in the sanctuary and stream with good zoom and good controls? But then also, a lot of us hear stuff about PTZ cameras. What are PTZ cameras, and what's the big deal, and why are they so expensive?
Okay. First off, just a good camera that can be used for like a good mid grade to entry pro level video camera that can do a whole lot of different stuff. I love Canons. I've been using Canon video cameras for a couple of decades now. And so the Canon XA line of cameras is great, whether it's the 10, the 15, whatever. I am actually putting on a list to buy two for our church of the XA 40s, I believe they are. It's about $1,700, I think $1,600 for the camera, but it's 4K. If you buy something that is 4K, you may not be live streaming in 4K, because I think you can live stream to YouTube in 4K, but you can't to Facebook. So, and it takes a lot of bandwidth. So, don't worry about it. But we're talking about being able to have this camera for 5 or 6 years. In fact, I'm using one of the original Vixia camcorders. It's well over 10 years old, and I'm still using it at our church as our second camera. So these things can last for a long time if you take really good care of them. The XA40 is back ordered. You're going to be getting it like in September. It's flying off the shelves, which is really cool. Ought to tell you something. But Panasonic has equivalent cameras. Sony has equivalent cameras. I actually am going to be reaching out to a contact I have at Sony and see if I can get a couple of their mid-range cameras to do some reviewing and testing on. Their camcorder line, their video camera line is really good. So I would definitely take a look at that. But I'm just loving, and I've used them enough that the XA series. If you want to save a little money, the G series, like the G40 or G50 from Canon, those are great cameras. The XA, it's a little more bells and whistles, but they've all got really good glass and really good sensors. And you can run and gun shooting with them. You can plug microphones into them. You can put a shotgun mic on them. You can put it on a tripod in the back of the room and zoom up nicely and track your pastor as he's going back and forth across stage. They're good cameras. When it comes to the PTZs, PTZ is an acronym: Pan, Tilt, Zoom, which means you've got a camera that has servos built into it or sitting on a platform so that you can remotely control that camera. So I can have presets, or I can have a joystick and go ooh, up and down and do all this. And then also control the zoom, so I can zoom in on wherever. These are great cameras all around. They're not the run and gun thing. You're not going to stick it on a shoulder rig and go running around the parking lot shooting with it and stuff. These are studio or cameras that you would put in your sanctuary. I've used them. I used a $20,000 pan tilt zoom camera from Sony to do YouTube shows and all that, and just got impeccable quality from it because it's got a big sensor and it's got big glass, and it was a really nice camera. But PTZ Optics makes great cameras, the 20 by or the 30 by. I would, if I were you, if you're buying a PTZ camera, I would buy one, spend the extra $100 or whatever it is, 200. I don't remember how the numbers play out, but I would get the NDI option. So NDI, network device interface. It is another connectivity protocol. So you've got HDMI, you've got SDI, which are the cords that look kind of like your old cable, like one coming out of your wall. They've got like a twist lock, so there'll be a little post, and then it'll come on and twist lock onto it. You get a lot of range out of those cables. You get 75-ish feet on an HDMI cable. You can get like 500 feet on an SDI cable. NDI is using the network jack. So you'll be able to plug a Cat6 cable into it and then plug it into your network and then go into your router and like give it priority for traffic and then receive it into Ecamm or OBS or whatever. If you're using a TriCaster, it can go into there. And they're really great. You can deploy several of these and have just like one controller and be able to control from, set up different scenes. I want to shoot the audience shot. So I hit 3 and then it goes to the audience and then I cut to that. And then I cut back to a shot of the pastor. It's cool. PTZ cameras are good. PTZ Optics makes great cameras. I've got a lot of experience with those. And one of our CTA insiders, new member to the coaching club, had just bought from a company called Minray, who has been out for just a little while that I'm aware of. They are much less expensive, but he's really pleased with the quality. So I'm going to try to get my hands on one of those and play with it and see if it's really up to snuff. Because if so, then for a price point, they may be the ones to take a look at.
All right, so we got some quick-fire questions before we move on to capture cards about cameras. GoPros.
Yes.
Can you use them? Do you recommend them?
Yeah, GoPro. If you've got good wiring, you're going to need to. Let's say people want to use a GoPro to put up in the baptistry, so they can have a really good shot of the guy walking into the water and the daughter being dunked and coming up. You want to get great shots with that. So GoPros work really good for that. The deal is that GoPros don't use NDI, and you've got to be able to get that signal in. So you really need to get a GoPro, $300 on a GoPro. You then need to get a HDMI to NDI converter, which is a few $100s, and then run it that way, or get a converter box to go from HDMI to SDI, and then run that SDI cable up there, and then convert it back to an HDMI cable. So yes, they're small, they're inconspicuous, they can be used for doing stuff like that. Absolutely. And you can also use a GoPro in this type of a setting, which is a very up close. Instead of having a webcam, if you've already got a GoPro, you spend a little bit of money on a capture card and set that GoPro on a tripod and use that. I've got one. I don't know if you can see it, but I've got one. There we go, right here. And I've been using it as my second camera on my vMix system because I just got it mounted to a microphone arm. And I set it to medium point field of view, so not super wide, but the medium one. And it's a great little camera. It works well.
All right, another quick fire. Wi-Fi cameras, yes or no?
Wi-Fi cameras, doing anything over Wi-Fi is going to introduce latency, and it's also going to be on a dedicated Wi-Fi network that no one is touching, then you'll have better luck. If it's on the Wi-Fi network and you've got kids playing Minecraft during church, it's not going to work, and you will be having latency issues. Stay away from wireless unless you're getting like pro-level wireless gear. You're just going to be spending a lot of time trying to fix things.
And what about the Mevo? It seems to be the magic cure, the silver bullet. You can run it from your camera, and it does everything for you, tracking.
Oh, it's perfect. Yes. No. The Mevo is great. The new Mevo Plus, and I've got a Mevo sitting out in my garage as one of the set cameras. The Mevo is a great camera. What's cool about it is the camera has a 4K sensor, but at least I don't remember if the new, I think the new Mevo, the Mevo Plus, is still doing just a 1080 recording or stream. Because you're using a 4K sensor, you've got a big palette, but you're only going to be broadcasting a small amount. So when you're zoomed out of that big palette to to that 1080, you've got a really good sharp image and you haven't lost any quality, versus having a 1080 and then trying to digitally zoom up and enlarge. You don't you lose quality and stuff. So what they do is they got this 4K sensor, but they only give you a 1080's worth of it. So even when you're at 100%, so let's say you're zoomed out to like 50% or 40% or whatever, and you see the entire image. Okay, it looks nice and clear. But when you go to 100%, no image loss, you've now zoomed up on what you're looking at. You're zooming up on that palette. So you can do things like digitally zoom, inside this image, set up different zones, and like go to this one, and it's over at the drummer, back over here to the preacher, it pulls back out to the preacher, cuts over here to the singer, etc. So as a standalone unit, it's great when you are just starting or need to be highly mobile. Okay. The new one that's out has NDI built into it, so you can actually use that camera as an NDI source for your network. I have not seen if it has a jack that you can hardwire in, because doing hardwire is always better. If you're using Wi-Fi or doing it over the Wi-Fi network, then of course you're going to have latency issues, and good network management is going to do that, and you can delay the other items in your network, delay the camera and the audio that are hardwired to match up to that.
All right, and then let's talk about capture cards.
Yes.
Capture cards seem to be the unicorn, the missing link.
Right.
I still get questions. We get questions all the time about capture cards.
Yeah.
Tell us why do we need a capture card? Why can't we just go HDMI out and from the camera into the computer and just be done with it? I thought computers were supposed to be smart. What is the point of the capture card? Why do I need one? And then, of course, when do I need one? And then which one should we buy?
Capture cards basically take an HDMI input, or take an HDMI signal and convert it into a signal that your computer can read. They can have a USB connection. They can have a Thunderbolt connection. They can be PCI cards that you drop into your system. Now, for this, we're using Ecamm, and Ecamm is a Mac-centric program. So, what's our available Macs? We've got the MacBook Pro lines. We've got our iMacs. We've got what's the little bitty one? The Mac Mini, right? And then you've got the tower, the trash can tower, and then the other tower. So we're basically looking at, for the most part, we're looking at using USB ones, and so USB 3 or Thunderbolt if you got an older. Your computer doesn't have a way to ingest it. And I see this a lot. Well, my laptop's got an HDMI port. Why can't I just plug the camera into there? Because that port is out only. It's meant to go into a big screen, to another monitor, etc. It would be like, well, I've got a television with an HDMI port. Why can't I just plug that that HDMI port into a tape recorder and record the picture? You just can't. It's just not designed that way. You got to have a way to suck in the signal. So that's what these little capture cards are. And most of them, the USB ones are going to be dongles. You can use a little extender if you need to. I always say that you should use an extender because you don't want to be putting pressure, the cord, the HDMI cable going in, then going to your camera and putting pressure on that USB jack. So, get an extender so that you can manage your cables and stuff. But they're great. And it's a really easy way to get really high quality. The cam link that we talked about earlier, the cam link from Elgato/Corsair, that's the name of the company. They've got one for what's in the $130 range now. It used to be like $400 during the big hit. But it'll do 4K. It'll do 1080p 60, 1080p 30. It's great. Most of these cameras will work with it. I've seen a few odd times that a camera doesn't work with it, but basically, it's, check their list and just make sure you don't have one of the odd ones. But they're great, very easy to use, plug and play basically. And then Blackmagic has a mini recorder that I've been using for years. It works on Thunderbolt, and then you can also use the Thunderbolt to USB-C, and that works great. I use it all the time. I'm going to use it tonight. And then you've got other ones like Justin. You're using what, the WeStar, which is like a $75. Let's see if it works. Generic USB HDMI recorder, and look at his image, folks.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. I love it. And you could, when we got it, it was like you could find it, right? This was when I've used the Black Magic Ultra Studio Mini recorder. Super happy with it. This one seems to do pretty much the same thing. You don't get the Black Magic bells and whistles, like the troubleshooting software and all that stuff that you can get with the previous software. But for what it is and for what it costs, I'm very thankful that we have it. So if you also have a smaller budget, or maybe you want to go nicer on the camera, which leaves you less for the capture card, I'm a big fan of that WeStar HDMI. And I'm tracking the YouTube comments from our review and other reviews, and people are like, "Yeah, this is a great capture card." A lot of kids are using it as they're getting into gaming, so really, really good stuff. We didn't get to the audio and the lighting, so we'll have to hit that next week. But right now, take this information, digest it, put your proposal together, get the resources together, the money together, whatever you have to do. If you have any questions, you can email us, hello@churchtrainingacademy.com. Or you can leave a comment on this video. There's, like I said, there's hundreds of options out there, but there's only a few options that might be right for your church when it comes to how you can use it, how you're going to spend the money on it, how fast it can get there, and how much manpower you have to set it up and run it. So if you have the, if you have the budget and you have the manpower, get the PTZs. If you want multi-purpose, get the 6400, the Canon Vixia. We're here to help you. That's what the Church Media Guys is all about. Ecamm is here to help you. And if you want to learn more about Ecamm, you can go to getecam.com and you can get your free trial there. Try it for 14 days. We've got our own people in our groups, in our circle, trying it out and learning all the things that they can do with it. So you can go to getecam.com. That's our referral link. We get a little, it helps support us at no extra cost for you. Lets us know that the Church Media Guys sent you. And Dave, you got anything else before we take off?
No, the most important thing is get started and then take what you've learned here and use it to go change lives.